What's up, everybody? Welcome into Unpaved. It's Friday of the Ryder Cup, and it didn't go well this morning. We'll get into that. We got a lot of college football to talk. We got like 5-6 really, really good football games this weekend. And then we're going to try a little something new, some who needs it more. I come up with some NFL topics of who needs it more coming this weekend. But, Sean, we got to start there.
Fire away, dog, when it's time. Dude, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. We're starting in New York, on Long Island, at Bethpage Black. And the U.S. comes out and lays a dud in the morning foursomes. 3-1 is the score heading into the afternoons, which they have kicked off. But, I mean, we got the start you talked about yesterday with DeChambeau and now I'm going to blank.
DeChambeau and
Justin Thomas.
Their team.
Yeah.
Justin Thomas.
DeChambeau and Justin Thomas, and they went out, won the first
and
hole.
Rahm Hatton. Yep.
Yeah. And then Rahm Hatton won. Every other hole that was won in their match was run by the Euros. So one hole won by what I thought was going to be the best duo out there in the mornings. And they got their doors kicked in. Then it followed up with Scheffler and Henley getting beat 5-3 by your boy Ludwig.
I'm Ludwig Salisbury. That's my swing. Ludwig.
That's what you like to say.
Okay.
And Matt Fitzpatrick, they beat them up. And then Colin Morikawa and Harry English, like Harry has English in his name. It's like he was playing for the Euros because Rory and Tommy Fleetwood, they beat them up and down the course. And then luckily the USA, Schauffele and Cantlay were able to stave off a comeback by McIntyre and Hovland and winning the last two holes of the match on 17 and 18 to win 2 up. But man, Sean, that morning could not have gone worse for the USA.
3-2 or 3-1 sounds a lot better than 4-0.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Schauffele, Cantlay, you told me, I told you, Segs, I'm anxious to see how that Patrick Cantlay is a sneaky candidate for me throughout this because I just think he, you know, maybe sets up for this well. But they tried to give it away now. They did. And McIntyre, that's a grinding group that they had to stave off and Victor Hovland. But they did a nice job with the last 3 holes and took care of their business to win, to win it by a hole. But the other 3 groupings were dominated. They were literally dominated. I mean, Fleetwood and McIlroy hit everything close. Russell Henley did not play well, and neither did Scotty Scheffler for that part. I mean, he made that birdie putt early, but he did not play well. And Morikawa, the best iron shot I saw him hit was late, but they were down 4 at the time anyway when he hit it close. But he has got to play better. Obviously, they left him out of the afternoons. And Justin Thomas, for the grinder he's got to play better. He just absolutely does. And then you see Ben Griffin and J.J. Spawn come out in the afternoon here as they start out. 2 rookies pound it, one in the fairway, one off, and then he hits it close and birdies and J.J. Spawn right off the bat to make that putt to get them started with Scotty Scheffler. So I'm really anxious to see how these afternoon groupings go, Segs. But you can – and now listen, you go 3-1 and you're right back at it.
Yep. We're
tied up, ready to go into tomorrow. So it matters. But this pairings and this confidence, the Europeans, man, they don't play. And they are a loaded group, and we'll get to see the one rookie on them, Rasmus Højgaard, play. But there you see the 3-1 sessions, and they've kicked off the afternoon. But the domination by the middle there, or the top to the third group, was utter domination. I mean, none of those 3 even got to this 16th hole.
Right.
I mean, at 15, it cut off until Cantlay and Schauffele got the 1-stroke lead with 1 to go, and then obviously they tied the last hole, which led to a. Well, they didn't because they actually bogeyed it. So it was a big win by 2 up by Cantlay and Schauffele, and they're good friends. And at some point in time, you'll probably see those 2 again, Segs. But you got to have the Russell Henleys and the Colin Morikawa's play better because right now I don't know how I can run Colin Morikawa out again in team play, Segs. Depending on how Spawn and Russell Henley and Cam Young, all 3 rookies, come out and play in this. And then you look to tomorrow with the same format, the foursomes and the 4-ball. Obviously, they'll all play on Sunday with the singles. But right now, if Spawn and these three rookies play well, you got to run them back out. And then Rasmus Højgaard, the only rookie there. There's no doubt Europeans are playing with an incredible amount of confidence with their great players in this format. And on the road, they just kind of stuck it right down the – it's one thing to go 3-1 or 4-0 coming out in your home soil, but to do it on the road, which they did 3-1 and literally dominated the best players in the world at the top. This is a great challenge here in the 4-ball, which now means everybody plays out their own ball and they take the low score.
I mean, we talk about how the Euros really dominated those first 3 matches. But, Sean, when you look at it, DeChambeau, Thomas, the first duo, Scheffler, Henley, the second duo, and Morikawa, English, the third duo for the Americans, they won a grand total of 4 holes.
Combined. Yes.
I mean, it's unfathomable that those 3 duos would go out there and only win 4 holes combined out of the 45-ish that they played. So, yeah, I mean, as you said, just not good enough from the players that you need to play well. You're supposed to go out on your home course and set the tone. And the tone was set the complete opposite way. It took the crowd out pretty damn quick. And it's going to be interesting to see how they can bounce back. I mean, we've already seen here in the afternoon, Spawn and Scheffler won the first hole, and then they give it right back to Rahm and Straka. So, I mean, it's just something where you can't, you get the start you want with the first hole, and then you give it right back, or as in this morning, they gave it back later and just never even came. It didn't even feel like they were ever close to winning a hole. The first duo.
There was a point in time when McIlroy and Fleetwood had 5 birdies and the rest of the field had 7 total.
Yeah.
I mean, of the U.S. So the domination of that group and the Europeans. And here's another thing, momentum. And see, momentum does matter here. And you're exactly right. Those 3, the crowd wasn't as near as noisy as it would be because the Europeans did exactly what they set out to do, whoop your ass early so you take them out late. And even I know the Schauffele and Cantlay, they started to get into it, but we're talking about now 3 groups have already finished. So you can't, that energy that everybody thought this would be the rowdiest and loudest Ryder Cup ever, you took it out of them and it became a little more monotone simply because until that last hole when everybody got to the 18th green and all the fans, you're already down 3-0 and had to go and win one and you didn't want to settle for a half a point. So it was a big win by them. But Segs, like in sports and football, this is no different. If your stars don't play well, you can't win a Super Bowl in big games, in big moments. Yep. And then there's always a guy or two. We see it in Super Bowls. We see it in playoff runs. We see it every year that somewhere along the line, a guy or two that aren't your stars need to play well on a World Series team, on an probably even less than in basketball sakes, because that's like take your 3 stars, your star and 2 other good players, they play well. The other 2 really don't matter. In football or in baseball, your ace pitcher has to go well. Your star in the middle of the lineup has to produce something. In football, bad quarterback play or bad play, you're in trouble. You are in maximum trouble. It's the same thing here. At some point, if they're going to get back into it, Scheffler's got to get to dominating. Justin Thomas has to win a match. DeChambeau has to, and I'm not talking about where it's close. They got to bury the field to get them back up where they say, okay, because this wasn't a win. This was a friggin' beatdown of epic proportions by the stars. Their stars were far better than ours in the morning foursome. Now here in the 4-ball, somehow, some way, it's not just winning, because I expect Spawn and Cameron Young and Ben Griffin, while there's nerves, to actually play well. It's that youthful, like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Just, I'm going to go play golf because I hopefully have many more of these. And that mentality does set in, Segs. I promise you. It's like when a rookie comes out, it's like, okay, I'm a high pick. I'm supposed to play. If I don't play well, there's many more because I'm young. It's almost a hall pass feeling. Does that make sense, Segs?
Yeah.
Even though you don't know how many of these Ryder Cups you're going to play in. So free and easy, let it go. And while some people think it put more pressure on the young guys, I actually think there might be a little more pressure because they can say, listen, our veterans didn't play well. I can't play any worse. I'm just going to go out and swing freely and take the tension out and go. But if Scheffler, if Russell Henley, if Morikawa gets another run, your top players, even Xander Schauffele even playing better, they got to play better. They got to putt better because you can't just win it with Cam Young, Ben Griffin, and the young guys and J.J. Spawn doing their thing. The stars are going to have to play well because who's been a star for them? McIlroy kicked ass.
Yep.
Fleetwood kicked ass. Those guys together don't lose. Look, I mean, hell, you think Justin Rose is going to wilt? He ain't going to wilt in this afternoon. Justin Rose has seen this movie too many times. So, the stars are going to have to rear their head. And Justin Thomas, if he's going to be that fiery guy that we talk about that loves this stuff, got to show it and you got to start hitting them. And so, kudos to the Europeans. But I expected the Europeans to come play well. Segs, I did. They are freaking loaded, man. They are loaded, and that's why when people said the U.S. is a favorite, they're a favorite when they start fast and keep the crowd in it. But from 1 to 12, the Europeans are a better team. They are just a better team. Not that I'm talking about as far as seeing this and experience. Hell, you sat Shane Lowry, and Shane Lowry's coming out here. You sat him in the first, and you still dominated the competition. Yep. So while I think depth-wise, because the 4 rookies come into play for the U.S., it's and Rasmus Højgaard's got a lot of guys to lean on to do his thing in this event. So if your stars play well and Fleetwood and McIlroy continue to do it, and you saw how smooth Ludwig Oberg is and how that big fella knows how to smoke it. So this is a monster. Segs going down 7-1 at the end of two days. You want to talk about wouldn't be able to drive a nail through somebody's ass with the sledgehammer when the tightness kicks in. But all it takes is the guys get out and you tie this at 3-3 with the first 2 groups. Then home field advantage starts to become a big play, and you added a 13th, 14th, and 15th man to the roster, no doubt.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I want to go back to the first matchup with DeChambeau and Thomas versus Rahm and whoever he was.
Tyrrell Hatton. Yeah. And those 2 guys don't lose either. They're undefeated. Right. And Rahm's a monster in these 4-ball and foursomes groups.
That ball that Hatton hit right into the weeds, and then I believe it was
Rahm who hit it out of there too.
Yeah, it was Rahm who hit. Yeah, and it matched what the U.S. was able to do. I think it was Justin Thomas who hit a ball inside it, and Rahm was inside of him hitting out of the weeds, a ball you could not see. I mean, they had to zoom the camera in to get it to where you could just see a part of it. And they were talking on the broadcast. Faldo was like, I don't know where this ball is going to go when he hits it. I don't think he knows where it's going to go because it could spray anyway. And to stick it in 10 feet and then not allow that hole to be won, I think that's when everything just kind of fell apart.
Yeah, Segs, it's amazing. That's such a great point. There's 2 shots. I mean, there's a lot of shots. It's a clutch putts, I get all that. But it's not just if you don't win the hole, it's making sure that the other team doesn't. You're 100% correct on Faldo's point. But I was watching the whole thing while doing the morning show, but with the sound down because we're in studio, right? Doing my show on iHeart, Sports Talk 790, iHeart radio app for free, shameless promo. But I'm watching the whole thing while we're doing the show, Segs, and 2 shots that stuck out for me that saved you. Think about the one that Tyrrell Hatton had to hit when there was a big branch in front of him. It was a movable. You can move it, but the risk of moving it moved the ball because it's a loose impediment. It wasn't like a root. It wasn't rooted. Right. But they both looked at it instead and said, we can't risk moving it. And that's one where literally it was up against the ball. So if the ball is here, folks, right here, it's let me move it this way. It's up against it. I mean, like a quarter of an inch away. So you're going to hit that. You can't elevate it there. Plus there's trees. So you're hitting it low to come out. And Tyrrell Hatton hit it on the green. He hit it strong enough to hit through the loose impediment that the ball actually struck the loose impediment and the big old stick that was about, so big or so, and got on the green. And then that one, I was sitting in the studio, and when Rahm was facing it, it was it's like straw or whatever they call that. There was thigh high. You can't see his golf ball. And I was thinking the same thing. It's going to turn the club. He may not get out of the rough. The dude not only got out of the rough, he stuck it to like a 10-footer, which eliminated that hole. They choked him out on holes that when you're sitting in the fairway and they're sitting there, you're thinking, we're going to win this hole. And Rahm does what Rahm does. Jon Rahm, for being a guy who for a while was the number 1 player in the world, Segs, is I still think so understated. Maybe it's because he's on Live Tour now. Yeah. The guy is a monster player. Long, great hands. He's DeChambeau the same way. He really is. They're both long. They both got great hands. Both play on Live, and both have major victories. It's impressive to watch. And they did a better job of hitting shots to get out of bad spots. And then they hit it close, and they're clutch, man. They got nerves of steel. They know how to celebrate. They know how to win, and the U.S. has got a task. But if I got Scotty Scheffler on my team, and I've got guys who have been – I got to hold out hope that – and the reason why I like this more, Scheffler's playing his own ball, which he does every week, which he can just – the other three he can tune out. You just go do what you do and shoot 64 with your ball, and we'll get out of there, and everything will be fine. They got to win a couple of these early ones so the Europeans – and I'll tell you what, if the momentum – forget just that it's 3-1. If you allow the Europeans to come back from 3 down, meaning the last group of McIntyre and Hovland, and they win that, Segs, or even get a half a point, that momentum, it's almost like now we got to come in the afternoon. What deflating for fans and everybody else, because then the pressure to grip that thing and try to hit it close. It's hard to play free and easy when you're in a chase mode the whole damn time. So they've got to come out here in the early, because then the crowd tomorrow is going to come out jacked. Let's say it's what, Segs, even if it's what, 5-3. And the Europeans are ahead. Now it's okay, cool, man. We just need one group and we're within striking distance. You just don't want to have to be where there's so much chase going on that it comes down to you got to win 9 of 12 singles matches, which against those guys, that'd be pretty damn tough to do. It'll be tough to do either side. I would expect a far better performance in this 4-ball than we saw in the foursomes this morning.
Yeah, as we just saw, if you're watching the broadcast, President Trump has showed up. He's going to kind of walk alongside him, it seems like, the way
dapping them up, and they're pumped. Yeah.
So we'll see if that can bring them any luck. It just felt like watching those first 4. And by the way, Scheffler and Spawn have gone down 1 to Rahm, who sunk a birdie putt on the par 3 third. So they're down 1. I see
Sepp Straka chip in too, Segs, with a little iron just off the green.
Yep. So it just feels like so far the U.S. has not made a putt they need, a putt that's 10, 12, 15 feet. They just haven't made that putt
to secure a birdie and put pressure on them, and they walk off the hole. So, another thing that sticks out about this is, and I mean this sincerely, and I hate to say it, but it feels like there was more choke factor in the early for the U.S. And you can say what you want, and I'm not saying that. Listen, we all face it. Who hasn't choked? I mean, there's been plenty of times in a game where you're like, this is the pressure gets to you, whether it's choking for a series or choking for a game. Somewhere along the line in our careers, we all have. Whatever you want to call it, you put it this way, standing over a 4-footer that's a straight putt and you miss and you pull 2 of those, guess what? That ain't you don't know what the line is, because these are basically flat greens with some subtle changes. The rough's down a little bit. Choke does exist. That doesn't mean the whole tournament's choked away or the whole event's choked away or the whole championship's choked away. It just means that the choke factor does exist. Everybody that's a golfing fans watching it. Hell, we're not even going to schedule anything. People that aren't, you got guys, I'm sitting here watching Dale Jarrett yesterday on Golf Channel. He's at Arizona. He's tuned in. They're all, people are hanging. They're scheduling themselves around this. So there is a choke factor that exists. Put it this way. The pressure was dealt with better by the Europeans than it was by the U.S. in the morning. They got curb stomped. And you know what? You either do one of 2 things. You either go in the corner and take the ass kicking and let it happen again, or you come back out and you issue it back and say, okay, not so fast, my friend, to our guy Lee Corso, and respond with, just like they did. J.J. Spawn birdies the first hole. Bam, they respond twice, and now they're up 2. Or they're up 1 because they've won 2 holes back. So it does happen. Thank goodness there's not carryover in some of this, Segs. Could you imagine a Ryder Cup? It was 3 tied and then you win 1, what that curb stomp would look like if all of a sudden, they were carried over like we do in bets sometimes. Hey, man, $5 bet, 1 tie, all tie, and we go to the next hole and it carries over. Thank goodness the Ryder Cup doesn't do that, because some holes would end on the matchup would end on hole 8 by the time it got done. So it's the U.S. has to do everything they can to respond, not just physically, but the emotions and mental, because there is an extra pressure added to you at home, Segs. Why? You know what you're getting. You know what you're getting when you go on the road.
Right.
At home they're all looking at you. You're our savior. You're the guy who's got to fix this. And it can't be you looking to somebody else. If you're Scotty, you're looking at yourself, which I imagine he is. If you're Justin Thomas, you're looking in the mirror and say, I got to play better because I let him down. If you're Colin Morikawa, you got to find a way to salvage a rough season and somehow salvage something at some point if you get back out there on foursomes tomorrow.
Yeah, the last grouping of Cantlay and Sam Burns versus Rory
yeah.
and Shane Lowry. That's one that I think
that's a huge matchup, brother.
That's a huge matchup, and it just feels like the Euros could run away with that one if Cantlay continues to putt like he did this morning, where he wouldn't make that, that putt I was talking about. It always felt like he was up, and he always just missed it left or right.
And you know what's crazy about that, Segs? Cantlay is one of the great pressure putters on the planet. Right. And that goes back to the show. That goes back to there's an extra pressure added to this, because if you talk about just clutch putting, I mean, listen, McIlroy is one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the world. Sam Burns is sneaky long. He can Cantlay steady, right? He's long enough, but he's really good iron player. But he is a phenomenal pressure putter. And Sam Burns, by statistically, and he's one of the best putters in the world. So you're actually looking at two of the if they both putt like they're supposed to, hell, it could be a really good favorite the other way, meaning the U.S. favorite, because on the greens they're supposed to be the better putting group than Lowry and McIlroy, because Burns and Cantlay are both big-time putters. Burns one of the best, and Cantlay's proven in the past with great putting in duress in big events. Well, the friendship and the masterful Lowry-McIlroy comfort level is also something that you got to deal with, because those two are great ham and eggers together. Right. And now they're playing their own ball. The key is going to be both Burns and Cantlay on the greens. If Cantlay putts like he did this morning, more pressure on Sam, right? But if Cantlay putts like he's used to putting, then Lowry and McIlroy may face a problem. At least we know that neither one of the foursome, all of them have played Ryder Cups before. The putter has to rear its head for both Sam and for Cantlay, no doubt.
Who's the one guy on the U.S. that has to play better? As I'm sitting here watching Justin Thomas put one inside of about 6 feet.
Now that's the iron player that's one of the best iron players and ball strikers in the world to 4 feet. Right.
I feel like I just answered my own question as I was watching the broadcast. It feels like, and you mentioned it earlier, it just feels like Justin Thomas has to be one of, if not the best players out there on the course today. And he wasn't that early, but now he's got that chance to back it up and come back and get them a point that they desperately need.
To me, it's two guys. Scheffler has to play like the number one player in the world. They won 6 tournaments and won 2 majors, and is going to be the player of the year for the 4th straight year, 22, 23, 24. And he's going to win it again. McIlroy will finish second because he won the majors and won the major, won at Pebble and at Sawgrass, I think. So he had some big wins, but Scheffler's going to win it. He's got to play like that. It is no doubt Justin Thomas, okay? The expectations, this guy's a veteran. There was times even people, what are we going to equality? This is one of Keegan Bradley's favorite players. And the energy that because he is a streak player too. Segs, when he gets going, he's capable of going birdie, 6 straight birdies. Right. And then you watch him, he'll take over DeChambeau with the energy and the arm waving and getting after. I mean, he will get after it. To me, he's at the top. I expect Scheffler to play well as this rolls along because it's who he is. But Scotty has not been good in Ryder Cups. He just hasn't been, or should I say, the number one player in the world good, yet nobody can say he's not clutch because he's been clutch in the biggest moments in the world, and nobody's got better distance control with their irons than Scheffler on the planet. So, but Justin Thomas has to play like a guy who is a major winner and a big-time talent, and hitting shots like that is why you got him out there, because he is one of the best ball strikers on the planet.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to continue to watch this. I know we both sit here putting on the broadcast and kind of watching, trying to see what's going on. And we don't have the sound on, so you can't tell how the crowd is. I saw a tweet saying the crowd seems a little more awake than they were this morning during these afternoon matches. And you sometimes get that. Also, now you've had the alcohol being sold for a few hours, so everybody loosens up a little bit when you talk about the crowd. They start trying to get in the heads of the Euros a little bit more. But how big of a deal was it, being that you've played in visiting stadiums and stuff, that you can go out and get that early lead to quiet the fans down and they're not shouting things at you? We saw a couple times where McIntyre backed off his drive one time when something was yelled. We saw a couple guys step off their putts because something was yelled. But How big of a deal was it that they were able to silence that crowd early in that morning foursomes?
Huge. And as we said, over a 5-foot putt, those tweeners that like Cantlay even pulled a couple, is Sam Burns, proven why he's one of the best putters in the world. He knocks it down, and Burns has taken they got a one. Let's see, Burns, they're one up on Burns and Cantlay are one up on McIlroy and Lowry. That's why, Segs, I was so into watching how the putter's rolling for Burns and Cantlay. And listen, even if Cantlay doesn't, if Burns is who's long, if Burns' putter's rolling, hell, remember it's best. This is four ball, so they got a chance to. You're taking best score. So Sam, go ahead and shoot 62, and don't worry about anybody else's putter and knock it out. Segs, I think it's monumental. It's two. You know what it is? It's two. You're playing a doubleheader on football, or a doubleheader. Right. I'm just using it as football because the crowd, unlike baseball, the crowd, it's a slower process. Football's coming out of the tunnel and jumping and thumping like it's a college football game. It's Auburn versus Alabama or whatever it is. You got that similar feeling, or LSU game versus Alabama, night game at LSU. I'll tell you why it's huge. Is the first one now the moment, okay, you lost it. You got one back at the 18th, but the crowd didn't come into major play because they came out. Saying it's like a football game. Your Bears come out and score 3 times against the best team, against Detroit, man, and you're on the road now. You got to play great football to catch back up. So it takes the grind to get back into it in the process, and then one bad mistake by you when you're down in your home crowd. Once again, they're like, oh, here we go again, right? Yep. So they did a great job. Now this is game 2, really, because the momentum may have died, but you come back and there's always that intrigue and that hope that okay, so now it's the second game. And you come out and you get a lead now, then the crowd starts to build to a crescendo. And then true Segs, the crowd's always going to be more rowdy in the afternoon and in the morning. And what you don't want to do is flip it. You sure as hell don't want to come out here in this afternoon and let the crowd be decimated again. And people wake up on Saturday morning like, what the hell happened to us? We're down 7-1. And so they've talked all week. How are they going to handle the crowd? The best way to handle it is a visitor, score first, win first. And they were up 1-0, and then they're up 2-0. So really, the equivalent of this morning, Seg, was a late touchdown by a team for momentum going into next week's games. But the first 3, it was a 42-17 victory by the Europeans is what it was in a football game when you were an underdog and you were on the road. So make no mistake, golf momentum in a Ryder Cup is as big as in-game momentum in a college football or NFL game when it just gets rolling. I've been a part of watching a game, Segs. We were playing Detroit one year in Detroit, and Barry Sanders, like Joey Browner is one of the greatest tacklers on the planet, right? He made him miss in the secondary and literally grab air. I'll never forget it. We were on the road. We had like a 17-point lead. My memory serves me. He scored. I looked at Wade Wilson, and I may have told you the story. And I said, no, please don't let this happen today. They came back, scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. We got beat. But you started to feel it going downhill, like, oh, we're on the road. And that home thing started to go, right? We had them. Crowd was out of it. Number 20 took it and did what number 20 does, embarrasses all 11 guys on defense. And you're on the sidelines watching it with your jaw down thinking, oh, but that's happening against us. We better refocus. We never refocused. They came back, bingo, bango, bongo, beat us in their building. And you know what was a big factor in that? The noise and the momentum that was happening in the Pontiac Silverdome. And their best player made the biggest play, and then they made a bunch of them. So if Scheffler goes out and posts as the first guy out with Spawn and posts, momentum continues to kick. Number 1 player, best crowd in the world, New York crowd at Bethpage. Watch that thing start to happen. So don't underrate it. Momentum, day-to-day momentum, I don't care about, Segs. I don't care about in any sport. I don't believe in it because all it takes is Tarek Skubal to come out and throw a no-hitter on you after the day before you beat them 10-1, their team, and strike out the side in the first inning. Momentum's done, right? So game-to-game momentum. I believe in game-to-game and match-to-match confidence. I'm not a big game day-to-day momentum guy because you can stop it with the next pitcher or the next week with the next quarterback. But in-game momentum, kind of think about hoops, Segs. Guys going, you're down 24 at half. All of a sudden, third quarter, you come out. Next thing you know, you're down 4. Because you've had a phenomenal third quarter, and then it's done. You carry it in the fourth quarter. So home field advantage. And the Europeans made sure the United States didn't get to take care of that extra 2 or 3 men they have with the fans. But if they kick in and start this right, and it'll all start with Scheffler, the number 1 player in the world, posting a win will be nice for that group.
Yeah, we just saw Cam Young make about a 20-foot putt to put them up 1 on McElroy and Shane Lowry. And then we just saw John Rahm leave an eagle putt about 2 inches short of taking that hole. So that stays at 1 up as we stand right now for the Euros. So we got the U.S. up in 2 of the matches of 1 up, and the Euros up 1 up in the Scheffler Spawn Rahm Straka matchup. So it's going to be interesting to see how these play out, but let's hear about your crypto.
I know you want to hear it. I wish I had. Could they give me like $1 million in crypto, Segs? Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, I'm
you
good
could
with
use that. Yeah, you and me both. Hey, let's be clear about cryptocurrency, though, guys. It's no longer emerging. You know, when they say, "Oh, crypto, it's emerging." Well, I'm so grateful for their partnership with us, Crypto.com. It's here. Forget emerging. This is here. And it's the latest. It's the latest move. It cements that reality is in a big way, and it's here, guys. Trump Media just linked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Yorkville Acquisition Corporation and Crypto.com, the crypto platform trusted by millions of users worldwide. The president supports it. We right here on Rumble and my show, Unpaved, supported it as well. Acquisition Corp and Crypto.com, $6.4 billion. There's the belief that it's not emerging. It is here. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi staking rewards, and the real-world perks like cash back on your spends to establish America's first CRO treasury. Trump Media Group CRO strategy. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest publicly traded CRO holder out there. This Crypto.com is at it and kicking ass. Want in on the action? Well, here's what you do. Head to Crypto.com today and let's make crypto great again. And remember, I'll say it again. People, the Crypto.com, it's an emergent. No, it's here and it's here to stay. So you want to get in on it? Crypto.com today. Let's make crypto great again. For more information on the proposed business combination, check out Yorkville Acquisition Corp's public filings. Again, it's Crypto.com, Crypto.com. Cryptocurrency is on fire, and Crypto.com is where to go to get it. That's where you start. So there you go, Segs. It's a good start and a good place to be. $6.4 billion. I can handle that, my man. That ain't a bad way to go, is it? Right off the bat?
Nah.
Nice acquisition.
No, I could definitely handle that. Let's jump to college football. We'll keep you up to date on what's going on with the Ryder Cup as we go. But
hey, put the single screen on, Segs. I'm going to move my screen a little bit. I don't want it to be a distraction for people's eyes while you're talking. See, make it a single shot for me real quick for Segs, and let me move this so it gets a different screenshot.
We've got USC at Illinois. That's 21 versus 23. It's a monster game for the Illini because they were just beat down last week in Bloomington, Indiana by the Hoosiers, 63-10. Illinois had all this momentum going in the game. Altmaier was playing well. Things were looking up. The defense was playing well. And then it did not matter who Indiana had out there. They just trounced that Illini defense. They were doing whatever they wanted. Mendoza is starting to look like the guy who could be the best quarterback in this class in the upcoming NFL draft. He's got the size, the arm, little bit of mobility, but man, does he look good for the Hoosiers. But getting back to Illinois, they need this win at home over USC to keep their playoff hopes alive. Now, this is the Illini that, you know, I've talked to plenty of fans. I have family that are Illini fan. I have a lot of friends that are Illini fans. And, you know, for them, they just want like a 9-3, 8-4 season. If they could just live there and keep going to good bowl games, I think most Illini fans will be happy. But with the way this team's being talked about, that it feels like Illini fans expect more. But with USC heading in, Sean, this game opened with USC being favored by 1.5 on the road. Sean, it's all the way to 6.5 now. I mean, this is a 5-point swing over the last week, and it's just crazy to me. I mean, I know the USC offense has been downright scary to a lot of teams with the way they've been playing, but Illinois comes in with a good defense. Yes, they got roasted, and maybe the defense isn't good. That was their first real true test in Indiana. Do you think the Trojans can go to Champaign, who they have to play early? It's going to feel even earlier for the Trojans, but can they come out, be ready to play at 11 a.m. local time and beat up on this Illini team?
Yes, thanks. I'm trying to figure out how you prepare for – I've been thinking about how you prepare for early wake-ups like that. You know what I'm saying? And we've all played in games where it's a little earlier or later than you like and sitting around all day. I would much rather go early. Now, college kids like to sleep in. Okay, we know that. I would much rather go early than late because I don't like sitting around all day. I want to get out of bed just like golf. Sigs. I want to get out first off. Let's go play and get it done. And in football, I'm like that. Now, some may like to sleep in till noon and get it all done. I don't know if you can prepare for this. You can't tell your guys to go home and, hey, go to bed early. It's a dorm room on a Wednesday night. What are you going to tell them, right? So I think, and I know this is going to sound so simplistic, it's a matter of mental toughness. For anybody that's played in cold weather and haven't played in Winnipeg and Minnesota and played in Green Bay and Chicago on the road, I kind of get an idea, even though I'm a California guy, what it's like to play in bad weather. And it comes down to a mindset. It does. You can't prepare. I don't care what you practice in. It's still Sunday game day. It's different because all guys – you'll see some days guys don't wear gloves and others will be out there freezing their butt. We've seen it happen, and it's a mental toughness thing. It just is. So this is the same way. You can't prepare. Hey, man, everybody go to week for 2 weeks. Even then, you still got to travel. There's still some jet lag and time change and when you go to bed and when you don't. And then you got to wake up and deal with what you're going to deal with, and that is playing a good team that got their ass kicked and you're on the road. I've played in Champaign. We went in there in an opening game, and both teams were ranked, and it was hot as balls there. And we were fortunate it wasn't that early of a game. But I think, Segs, as I've been thinking about this when Lincoln Riley said it, I don't think that anything you can do other than just you got to add to mental toughness. And as a coach, try to make it as normal as possible without bringing it up. Because you know what? At the end of the game, nobody's going to make the excuse for USC. None are going to make the excuse for USC if they get beat. It was an early game. Nobody's going to give a shit about that. Right. They're going to say, you know what? It's going to be opposite, 180 degrees. They're going to say, couldn't handle a little adversity. They faced a team that got beat last week. They went into a buzzsaw, a little early game, a little physical, and they just couldn't get their butt out of bed. I hate hearing that. I know it's real, but I hate hearing it. For me and you, it's fine. Hell, that would be sleeping in for me and you, but we ain't playing in this game. So two things that concern me. One is I do like the fact that the gamblers believe, and are you shocked? I mean, that the sharps believe that this is an ass kicking because you go when you do that, and I don't know if it has to be because of the last week that they're reeling from this. I'm going to tell you what I think it is, and all those disadvantages are supposed to get up early. I think if you're Lincoln Riley and you can preach, guys, like I told you, Segs, just preach with Denny Green and John Robinson. Denny Green always used to say to us, and when I was at SC, we were good with distractions. Denny Green always used to say, I don't care if the food's cold, if the bus is late, if your bed's not good, if you didn't have your pillow, get up and it doesn't matter. We'll deal with the distraction. He hated the excuse of it. So it was always just, it doesn't matter when we play or where we play him. It could be in the parking lot. We just got to go deal with it, right? And it's the same thing here. So if you're Lincoln Riley, you make a big deal of it, it'll be a big deal. You don't make a big deal, flip it and say, hey, man, the world's going to see us play early. We're the first out of the gate. Let's go get this thing done, right? For them. Right. And then maybe the adjustment of if you probably starting on Thursday night, at least got your ass to bed a little bit early and understood the focus if you're a player. I'm going to tell you I think why it's moving, Segs, team speed. Team speed on offense. I also think one thing we haven't seen in a while, Segs, is USC's defense flying around. Even though the opponents have been different, they are flying around, tackling better, and the scheme looks like it fits this young talent, and they are flying to the football, which is a good sign. Now, the schedule's going to get tougher. Flying to it, you still got to finish, and you still got to do your thing. So I think why it's moving is the offense for USC. Segs in open space. I mean, you know how you've watched them. They're about as anybody when they get things rolling. They're deep in the running back position. They're deep on the perimeter. And Maeda is a good player, and they've got, and he can use his feet, but he's throwing in. He's got some ability to put the ball in tight windows, and I've seen him in person this year, and obviously seen him on TV. I think the team speed's doing it. The key here is don't play into the distraction. It's our advantage. Heck, team speeds. You can run fast at 10 in the morning. You can run fast at night. Utilize that to your advantage and play away from their physicality. Make them play in space. But on the other side, it's the defense that needs to be physical because we know what Bielema wants to do. Play action, you run downhill and maul you at the line of scrimmage. They're reeling from last week. I would expect a good game. I don't know if 6.5 feels good to me, Segs, but I can tell you this. As far as I think SC is going to go in there and win. But if you're giving me 6.5, if I'm an Illinois fan, I'd probably take that bet and say, you give me the points I'm in. I just think USC's team speed is as good as any team in the country or pretty close. And I think that's going to be an advantage in this one. Play out of their strengths and yours.
What do you think about that 60.5 number? It's higher than we've seen a lot, but that USC team averaging 51. We know the Illini have a better offense than they showed last week in Bloomington, but do you think
that's telling you the winner's gonna? That's telling you the winner's gonna hang 30 plus on the other team.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
And after what we saw Indiana do to Illinois and how they did it, just be able to kind of just run by them like you're talking about with the team speed.
And our speed's
Illinois
better than theirs.
Yes.
You know what
Illinois
I mean?
has to feel like they got to try and keep everything in front of them and try and slow down USC to the point where it's huddle. Like, we're going to give you 4. Will you continue to check down instead of try to push the ball and all that stuff? I think that's
the greatest thing for Illinois this week, Sigs, may very well be shorten the game on offense so your defense doesn't have to deal with much of it. Honestly, even if that means an 8-play drive or a 10, 12-play drive for 7 minutes and you end up punting or kicking a field goal, you're trying to shorten possessions because if SC gets possessions and they get a chance to run a track meet, this is not – you'd rather a marathon – when I say a marathon, you'd rather a distance run for the Illini, shorten it for SC's offense, but hold on to that ball and be methodical. Because in a shootout, they won't have a chance in this. You and I both know that. Even though it's on the road, it wouldn't matter where they played it. But there is the way to do it. And you may have to give a little okey-doke on 3rd and 1 and play action and get a big play out of that short pass at the passing game after which sets up for a Bielema run. He'll have something because his team will be ready to play. Yep. But that tells you, Segs, with that, you're looking at high 20s, 30s scoring. But the way I've watched Illinois play defense against Indiana and knowing the way SC has and their growing confidence, but they haven't faced, they're averaging 50-plus points because they've played a couple inferior opponents early on and hung damn near 70 in the game. They could have scored 90 in the first game against Missouri State. They only played their starters for a half. But team speed's going to be big here, but the great elixir to that is dominate the other side where you time of possession's yours, but SC can score so quick. And Sakes, if I'm on defense at Illinois, if you decide you want to play man and blitz and you do not get to the quarterback, it's going to be a long day for Illinois. There's a reason why the Sharps are saying 6.5. It makes me a little nervous. I'm more of this is an outright win for USC going and winning on the road. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if USC can jump on them quickly and maybe get up 14-0. And then you see kind of the panic set in because of what happened last week. Because
you want to force them to play from behind and get desperate, Sakes, no doubt.
Exactly. And when they get desperate, that's when, it'll be trouble because of what happened last week. The fans will not be taking it kindly that, they're down again to another good team in a season where the Illini were expected to at least compete for one of those final playoff spots. So far, with last week, it's not going well. Then we got, stay in the Big Ten, we got Ohio State traveling out to Washington. Washington, I think, is a little bit underrated. You talked about it yesterday. The fact that they're not getting any votes to be in the top 25 is crazy. But OSU comes in with a dominant offense, dominant players that are on the offense. Can they put it all together heading out west? It's kind of the opposite here where, USC's traveling east. Well, now Ohio State's got to travel to the West Coast. They are a 9.5-point favorite of the Buckeyes, and that over-under sit at 51.5.
I think that's too high, Segs. 9.5.
The 9.5.
We don't see many national games this last year or two since Kalen DeBoer's team left in Penix at the University of Washington. We're going to start to see them. I'm just telling you, as good as Ohio State is, and when the last time they went out west and played in a road game like that was Oregon at the opener last year, wasn't it, Sakes? They got beat, had a chance. Remember when they made clock management at the end of the game, cost them.
Yep.
And then they took care of then they turned around and went back out there and boat raced them in a bowl game, right? I mean, it was or not in
Yeah.
when I say the bowl, in the playoff.
Yeah.
What was that? Wasn't that at the Rose Bowl, Sigs?
I think
Was
so.
that at the Rose Bowl? What wasn't it? That Ohio State hung like 8 points on them, but it was total domination. Is my point. For people that have not played a game at the University of Washington is a better team this year than they were. They're starting to build it. It is a very difficult place to play when that crowd's into it. And we keep talking about crowd in golf and in football, but that's one where it's not going to be an easy task. Washington's better than the country knows, and they're going to play pissed because the truth of the matter is they aren't getting much national respect right now, and that's okay. And if you're Washington, you also play into that, right? You feed off that and say, yeah, we're not very good. The rest of the world doesn't think so. I think 9.5 points is an awful lot going on the road to Washington. And everybody expects you're the national championship. Everybody expects you to win. This game's going to be closer than you think. Washington can score, and Washington's fan base and that place to play is a very, very difficult task, even with all the talent Ohio State has. And I don't know what the weather report says, Segs, but you can wake up in Washington, and we were on our way to compete for a national championship. Segs, when Marcus won the Heisman my freshman year,
yeah, okay,
we were up. We came in. They kicked off. The ball rolled. I take it back. They kicked a field goal to score a field goal. They kicked off. The ball bounced around because the wind. I'm talking about. I was the backup punter at SC, and we went out to pregame warmup. By the time you dropped the ball from your feet, you could miss it cleanly. It was one of those days.
Wow.
Sideways and raining. They kicked off after they kicked the field goal. They kicked off. The ball bounced around. Nobody recovered. They recovered in the end zone. No points off the board. I mean, no time off the board. They'd scored 10 points. We got beat, went on. We ended up we didn't get to where we thought because we were the number one team in the country that year and got beat by them and got beat by University of Arizona on a weird game at the Coliseum. And we had a national championship type team. That was the same year we beat Oklahoma on national championship on the last couple plays of the game when Mazer hit our tight end Fred Cornwell against OU, like 700 yards of offense, 33-31 or something. Wow. And we had everything you needed except the weather, literally 10 points with no time off the clock. And so you never know what you're going to get going in there. And Washington embraces that shit, man. They love it. Hard place to play, especially when their team's good. And they starting to look like the University of Washington teams back when I played with Don James. And they're always competitive. They're always physical. And now since Kalen DeBoer's left, they're starting to build this again. I like Washington with the points, man. And if there's going to be an upset, this one could be a sneaky one because Washington is getting completely disrespected, not by Ohio State, but the country doesn't quite know about them just yet. They will on Saturday.
Right. Yeah. You got to watch Damon Williams, the quarterback, and Jonah Coleman, the running back. I mean, they are a duo.
Good 1-2 punch, brother.
Yeah. Yes. They can run that RPO, run option. You know, they can do anything and they can beat you with their feet. A lot.
You got to defend the whole field, Segs. Bandwidth is big with them. You're going to have to defend the whole field if you're Ohio State.
Yes, and then when you bring that safety down, that's when, boom, Boston, the big wide receiver, he goes over the top and gets you. So it's going to be a fascinating game. All right, now we go to the SEC where we got a big game. We'll get back to the Big Ten in a second, but number 4 LSU travels to Mississippi to face Lane Kiffin and the number 13 Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss, a 1.5 favorite at home. So that means, you know, you normally get 3.
It's
so
basically a wash on most stage, right? Yeah.
And that over under sits at 57.5, which seems high for an LSU defense, but it's also the Ole Miss offense with the LSU offense that can score as well. So that number kind of sits right there with you. And you're kind of like, yeah, that kind of seems right, especially with the way the SEC's played this year. It feels like we haven't seen many of the 13-10, 17-10 type games out of the SEC so far this year.
Advantage LSU defense, Segs. They're really friggin' good. And we haven't seen LSU's offense. They played it at their best. We haven't. We saw a little bit of flashes with Nussmeier against Clemson, but Clemson's not who we thought they were. Right. And they've had a couple of those tune-up games to get right and take care of their business. I can tell you this, Nussmeier's command of what they're trying to do, you're going to see a better offense with LSU going in. They should expect their best. I would take the over in this game, even with LSU's defense. Kiffin will have something ready for LSU, I assure you. And they've got extreme talent. I think both teams to me are playoff teams, Segs. I think Ole Miss is a playoff team. I think they're dangerous because they're explosive and they've got one of the best play callers on the planet, and Lane Kiffin. At some point in this game, you know he's going to pull out some trick play, right? And a play that he expects to work at a time when you don't expect it. But it's not going to be one like that. It's going to be one with, can they handle the physicality of a brutal and nasty LSU defense? But a lot of times when you say that, you think, oh, Les Miles is the coach. They're going to run it and win 17-14. They've got some explosive talent. They always do on offense. And Nussmeier may very well be the best NFL problem. If he's not one, he's a high first-round pick, just judging by the way they play. And he's got great football IQ. I would expect more points than maybe some LSU fans who love defense say. And it's at Ole Miss. That's a fun place. It's going to be rocking. I've been, for a couple weeks, been thinking about this game. I still like LSU, Segs, on the road. I do. I think their defense ends up being the difference. But I actually think it's a difference in a high point where you're getting to stop late in the game as opposed to early in the game.
Right.
Give me a high-scoring game, but give me LSU on the road. But make no mistake that Lane Kiffin will be dialed in and ready to go. I don't expect this to be a blowout either way. I like LSU because I think LSU can be in the Final Four. I think we got to have if Ole Miss wins this game and wins it with some physicality, people are going to start to talk about Ole Miss even more than they do now with the Lane Kiffin. We know Ole Miss is a good team, but they got a chance to put their stamp on something here early in the season that says we're more than just a good team. We're a top 10 caliber team, and they will jump into that more than likely with a victory over LSU if they can pull it off. I love Nussmeier, though. I love his game, and I love his poise.
How much does it worry you that LSU, close game against Clemson, who Clemson is not good. We figured that out now through 4 or 5 weeks.
Make all the excuses we want. They're not good. Right. They're an average team with better talent. The sum is worse than the parts.
And that was a 17-10 game. Now it was on the road. And then LSU also played Florida at home in a closer game with a bad Florida team right now. Does it give you any pause knowing that they've played those two games closer than they really should have if you're really a top 5 team against two big time programs, but they're down right now? Does that give you any pause with them going to Ole Miss and having to play a really good Rebel team?
Sure it does, because we know Ole Miss's capabilities and explosive nature on offense. There's no doubt. And think about this, Segs, too, is that if you're LSU, you're feeding off the fact that, we never win opening games. And because since Brian Kelly's been there, they haven't won an opening game. When they went into Clemson, that was supposed to be a quality victory because Clemson was a top, what were they, third at the time, Segs? I think a third or fourth in the country when they went in there, I think. And did not play well. But part of that was LSU's defense gave Klubnik fits, and that's a big part of it. I am concerned about slow starts in LSU's offense. I am. When I say concerned, not desperate, but knowing the quarterback, I believe that's fixable. But we haven't seen the normal LSU explosion that we expected. And even in their victory in what was it? I don't know. Was it Louisiana Monroe? Whoever they beat, Segs, in a couple of Louisiana Lafayette. I don't know which team they beat.
Southeast Louisiana.
Yeah, one of those. There's about 8 million Louisiana teams.
You knew it was the direction of Louisiana.
Right. They still didn't look like who LSU is supposed to be, right? So they're either due for a big explosion, which Brian Kelly needs on the road against Ole Miss. But do I have a little concern about them getting that high-powered quarterback and the explosion going? I do. But their defense can give them some short fields to build that. I would expect if I'm Ole Miss that LSU is going to bring their best offense. But, yes, it's been, can I say sluggish, fair enough, a little bit for a team that should be more explosive offensively against teams that, quite frankly, that they were supposed to hammer, not named Clemson. But if they had to do it all over again, heck, you'd pick LSU by a minimum of a touchdown going on the road against Clemson the way they played offensively and defensively. So,
yeah.
I like LSU on the road, Segs. I do. I'm talking about as the win. Now, and I'm the fact that they're dogs also says something to what you're saying about is LSU's offense going to explode finally on the road against a high-powered Lane Kiffin who will have his quarterback and his team going in the right direction, I believe.
And that's why, that's why I'm fascinated, and I'm almost leaning Ole Miss the more I talk about it. The more I talk about LSU and everything.
You're talking to yourself out of LSU's offense, correct?
I am. So it'll be one to watch in how they play. Now, if they go out and win 13-10, I feel like we're still going to have the same questions about LSU that we are talking about right now. So that'll be one to watch.
Hey, Segs, what about this too? What about this too, about that LSU Ole Miss game is, damn, I lost my train of thought, but if they score in the teens and still win, the questions are no doubt going to exist. And it'll come to me what I was going to say, but the Ole Miss, now Ole Miss wouldn't mind winning a 13-10 game. Why? Because I think it would also prove something to them that they don't have to score 30 to win. That's a big part of it too. So high scoring game, here's what I can say with a high scoring game is one thing LSU is also going to have to face, and they're used to it with Tennessee's and Ole Miss. But Ole Miss is going to try to play as fast as possible. They're going to try to run 90 plays. Now, trying to run 85, 90 plays against LSU may be a problem, but can you imagine, like we talk about, if they go on there and they're playing fast and come out and score 2 times in a row and has the defense looking at each other and 2 3-and-outs by LSU's offense, the questions are going to linger for you and others. When is LSU's offense going to look like Jaden Daniels a couple of years ago? And like at times we've seen Nussmeier's team get to it. I think we're going to get more offense than maybe some expect in this game, not name the gamblers or the bettors that set the line.
Yeah, it'll be definitely one to watch. Let's head up to the
I can see why you're talking your way. I can see why you're talking yourself into Ole Miss. Easy to do, especially at home.
It's going to be something that I'm sitting tomorrow. That game's, I think, that game's at 2:30. I'm going to be sitting there about 1:30 being like, all right, do I push the button to bet on Ole Miss? do I
send? That's right.
And I'm going to wait till the last second to see if that line moves at all. See where it goes. Maybe just take Ole Miss outright.
Tell you what, if that thing starts to work towards Ole Miss's favor again, like another half point or a point, jump all over Ole Miss because those guys know they know what they're talking about, no doubt.
Right. Heading up to the Northeast, we got probably the best game of the day. We've got Oregon, number 6 in the country, with a dynamic offense heading up to face Drew Aller, James Franklin, and the Penn State Nittany Lions up at Beaver Stadium in a whiteout at the night game. And right now, Penn State's a 3.5-point favorite. So basically they're calling it a wash. It's going to be, we talk about LSU's offense versus the Ole Miss. It's going to be kind of that same thing where can Oregon get out to a hot start against this Penn State defense and force Drew Aller, Singleton, and the other running back, I'm going to blank on his name, to throw the ball, not be able to run the ball like Penn State wants to start every single game by running it probably 20 out of 25 plays and allowing them to kind of establish that line of scrimmage. If Oregon can get out quick, and this is going to be Dante Moore's first real test, in my opinion, going to an opposing team stadium,
brutal
like
place to play.
Penn State in a whiteout. I mean, it is hard to play there. So looking at this game, where do you put Oregon going up against Penn State?
Are we fair if you say, can James Franklin win a big game like this? Right?
Yes. I'm not a James Franklin fan. I think he's overrated. I think Penn State kind of carries him more so than he.
Them.
Yes. That's just my opinion of James Franklin. I think he's always kind of been that front runner that when something goes wrong, he always has the excuse. He always has some bullshit up his sleeve to say. That's just my thought of James Franklin.
You're good coach, but you're like, is he going to elevate in this game? Will he be the difference is the point.
We've talked about Penn State enough over the since he's been there, and they've never broken through. So when is it, I sat and listened to everybody trash Harbaugh for years because he never broke through. And then once he finally did, things changed. Well, we're still waiting on James Franklin.
How many more times can we say, man, Penn State, this is their year?
Right.
Right. Now, they're always good. James Franklin's a very good coach, great recruiter. And I'm still trying to, I'm thinking about this, Segs. I know what Dan Lanning's going to do, and you and I both do, unleash all of it, okay? I don't know why I trust him a little more in a game like this. Maybe it's not fair. I don't know why, but I do. Penn State fans are awesome. That's going to be a loud, phenomenal building. It's going to be a great watch. But like the coach, I don't know, Segs, if they make them one-dimensional, let's say Penn State's not running the ball the way they want to, because we know what they want to do. Do you trust Drew Aller can carry a team throwing the ball for 4 quarters?
No, I've never really understood the Drew Aller hype. Like, he's a good player.
Right. But when I hear people talk about he could be the first pick or the first 5 picks, I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it. When I look at a guy like that, if they take away the dimension that you're really good at, and he'll pull it out and make some runs, and he's tough, and he's really tough, and I so much respect for him. But I'm talking about, can he carry Penn State on his back if it's a shootout and Penn State isn't running the ball very well? Can he carry them? And when I say a shootout, that a special teams return for a touchdown, a pick six and they're going back and forth, but it's not because of him. But if it has to be because of him, like I said, there's not 5 tougher quarterbacks in the country. He's been through it. He's a good player. But I'm still trying to buy in, Segs, and I don't know. Whenever I hear it, I go back and study and watch and say, I never look at him as the best player on the field. Does that make sense? Right. I never. Now, I'll tell you what, Dante Moore's going to have to be the best player on the field to win. Does that make sense? And I know what I'm going to get with Penn State's defense. They're going to hit you in the mouth. They're going to be assignment savvy and smart. You're going to have to earn it every way. But again, like we see a lot of these teams do, we mentioned Ole Miss, that the ability to play in space with speed and I know Penn State, it's like Notre Dame sometimes. I say, is their speed, can they keep up with this? And then you look at the other side, because here's the perception. West Coast finesse, East Coast tough. That's the way everybody looks at it. This is physical, punch you in the mouth. Penn State would play without helmets. This is look sweet in your helmet, be unbelievable. But there's a lot more substance to Oregon than people. And if they haven't seen that over the years with Dan Lanning, then something's wrong. But James Franklin's team's always like that. But I haven't bought into the fact yet, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm just skewed because I don't have anything against Penn State at all. But I just don't trust that Drew Aller can be a guy now he'll make some plays. You say, what a tough son of a bitch. What a great throw in duress. But can he sustain it if Oregon jumps out and it's a track meet? Can he be the reason the track meet's happening for Penn State, I guess, right, and carry them? And I'll be honest with you, Segs. To me, I just don't see I know I'm having trouble spitting this out because I've been doing this for 3 years with him.
Yes.
That every year I buy into, I say, okay, is he a national championship quarterback when you need him to carry you? And I don't know if that's the case, Segs. Like I said, well, Sean, do you respect? You're damn right I respect him. I think he's a great a hell of a college quarterback. But I haven't seen enough for me to say, oh, look out. But yet I know when I look at some of these other quarterbacks, if Nussmeier's going good and look out, dude.
Right.
So while I respect Aller, I just don't know. And maybe it's because of the way Penn State, we're used to seeing them win, tough, hard-nosed. Maybe we just don't get to see it enough of him carrying a team throwing the football. I got to see more of it to buy in. I actually think Oregon's going to give them one hell of a game. And as basically a pick 'em with a 1.5 or whatever it is, depending on where it goes, it's a great chance for Oregon to prove that there's substance that people maybe on the East Coast don't think they have.
Right.
And I get why. The Pac-12, Pac-10, they've always been viewed as a finesse conference. Well, here's your chance. And then last year, they're feeding off. And if you're fans, you're thinking, well, excuse me, look what an athletic yet physical Ohio State team did to Oregon in the playoff. They curb stomped them. Well, here you are now with a chance for Penn State to prove that, oh, we may have to play in a little more finesse and do it, but we know who Penn State is, and I think we know who Oregon is. I'm still just not convinced that if Drew Aller is or isn't a national title carry you on your back when your team's struggling quarterback. But I'll tell you what, I admire his toughness and grit because the guy can compete his ass off. I just don't know if skill-wise this team's capable of doing that. And I may walk out here, Segs, we may be talking on Monday and say, throw my arms up, I get it now. Guy was 32 of 40 and threw for 390 and 4 touchdowns. And he had to do it or they wouldn't have won. You got to prove that to me before I can buy all in on the throwing game to carry you in this game, if everything else, especially if Oregon's offense is moving the ball on the road in a hostile environment.
Yeah, I think one thing to watch early is can Oregon run the ball? Because that's all they've done so far this season really, really well, with Limar averaging over almost 7 yards. And then they bring in their two backups in Hill and Whittington. I mean, they're averaging 11.8 and 11.4 yards per carry. And Dante Moore isn't a speed burner. He's not a runner, but he can beat you with his feet when he needs to. So
and he can rip it.
Yes. Can Oregon come out and sustain the run early and then let Dante Moore kind of get settled and then hit a play action or something to get him going? That's something to watch for me early.
Segs, no doubt. And Segs, here's another thing, and it plays along with what you're saying, is when you play a team like Oregon, you are so concerned with their ability to finesse you. What happens too is you can't miss tackles. You got to be you're going to have to be, while they are, Penn State's a good tackling team, you're going to have to be a great tackling team this on Saturday. But another thing you got to look out for is that what happens when you're playing against a team who's got so much speed and it's got so many weapons is formationally and movement and all that can create a little defensive confusion. You're going to try to be sound in the old saying of, making sure your alignment and assignment. We hear it all the time. But they're so good at putting you on motion here, do here, play action here. And they're so good at doing that the one time you decide to overcommit, they pull the ball naked, boot it, throw an over route, and the guy goes for a score. They are, and you look at, you got guys coming off the bench at, like you said, 8, 9, 10, 11 yards a carry or a touch. I mean, It's nuts. So they do a lot of different stuff. They window dress you a lot. And so if you're not a sound tackling team, that's 21 quick points because they are so, they're 0 to 60 in a second. Yeah. And Dan Lanning will not back off that. What you're not going to do, if you're playing a heavyweight fight and one guy's can handle it, standing toe-to-toe, Oregon, while pride and ego says stand toe-to-toe, the truth of the matter is they're going to be better to stick and move, if that makes sense on offense. Do your thing, man. Don't get caught up in that who's carrying, whose package is bigger, because we got to prove to the world that we're as physical as Penn State. They're more physical than people think, but their advantage is what their advantage has always been. They destroy you with athletes in space. And that's why Penn State's going to expect some big plays in this game, off play action, maybe for both teams, but expect, because Oregon's going to say, well, they want to run it and wear us out. And so you can flag that play action in there and pull it. And then the other side is Oregon's ability to get, and it's not just one or two guys, man. We know this, that they're always got 6, 7 guys. You're like, man, one swing of the bat and that changes the game. And that's who Oregon is. But it's going to be a little different playing at Penn State. Something, night game at Penn State with a whiteout, brutal. Tough place to play.
Yeah. Give me one thought on each of Bama at Georgia. Give me one thought on each team as they play there in Athens. And, this is a game that Bama needs desperately, but can they get it this weekend?
They can, because I love their quarterback, Segs. I think he's a really good player. I do. I think he's don't you? Aren't you a fan of his? Yes. I think he's a really good player. But Georgia, it's between the hedges too, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. They've got, and there's, Alabama's been, if this was Nick's team, different, but Kalen DeBoer, go back and study all what you're going to get, because I can promise you, we know what Kirby Smart's going to do. The question for me is, Segs, have you bought into Georgia's offense in this game? Have you bought into Georgia's offense yet? Are you a believer that, maybe against Alabama, but are you a believer that Georgia's offense is a national championship offense yet? Has that grabbed your attention just yet? Me either. No. And so put it this: the whole thing for me is that if you can force the quarterback to turn it over a few times. I'm talking about Alabama. That's the whole key. You don't let him have a big game. Georgia wins at home, and then the constant Kalen DeBoer stuff and Alabama's. Oh, what's wrong with Alabama? Hard place to win. And like I said, it is between the hedges, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Yep. Yeah. But I like Alabama can score, but I got to see if Georgia's going to have to pressure. That's when they're at their best, when they make it miserable for a quarterback to set his feet, and that'll be point and prime and ready to go for Georgia this week. I just don't think Georgia's as explosive as I've seen them in the past, at least early on. And I may be wrong, but who they barely beat, the field goal miss last week was they got beat Tennessee. And you saw Tennessee move the football a little bit on them too, Segs, at times to their quarterback. So they're this is not as dominant a Georgia team that I'm used to seeing. Right. And I still got to have proof that Georgia's offense is explosive enough. I think this is a important game for both, but I think it's obviously far more important for Alabama and their psyche. And there won't be any lack of confidence on Georgia's team. One thing I do know, Georgia rarely beats themselves, and their defense will keep them in every friggin' game.
Yeah, if Georgia can come out and just beat Alabama like I think they should, then we start talking about Alabama or Georgia, excuse me, that okay, now we got a national title contender. We still have the questions, kind of like LSU, but LSU's defense has played better this year than Georgia's has. In the one game that, Georgia had competition against Tennessee, they gave up 41, but we still have those questions on offense, just like LSU. But with LSU, I trust Garrett Nussmeier much more at the quarterback position.
And Seggs also, you heard Kirby at the end of the game. He goes, we really didn't deserve to win.
Right.
But the one thing Kirby Smart's teams do, they epitomize like fist fight grit. You know what I mean? They really do. Even though they gave up some plays offensively, and Tennessee should have won the game. They just couldn't close it out. Couldn't get the kick at the right. They just couldn't close it out. They just couldn't.
Right.
And so you almost got away with one, but it was like, oh, here we go again. Georgia's going to do this to us again. You know what I'm saying? But you had a chance. So Alabama's going to have to play their best game. They just are clearly their best game to win this one. But there's some plays you can have some plays against Georgia's defense. But if you start to play in a phone booth against them, advantage Georgia. And Alabama's quarterback's better. He just is at this stage of the game. So, and if you turn them into a one-dimensional game and play right into Kirby's hands and they're not throwing any pressure on the quarterback and they're trying to run it, then give me Georgia by more than a touchdown at home if that's the case.
Right. Yeah. And Georgia's only a 2.5-point favorite. So
they feel the same way about big plays and about Georgia's offense as well.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Real quick before we jump to the NFL and do a quick who needs it more. Scotty Scheffler, JJ Spawn are down 1 to John Rahm and Sepp Straka, as I struggle to say that name. Ben Griffin and DeChambeau are up 1 through 5 holes over Fleetwood and Justin Rose. Cameron Young, Justin Thomas still up 1 through 4. And then we've got Sam Birds and Patrick Cantlay are tied with Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry through 4. So I think it's going well for the Americans so far with the way things are set up.
Segs, the truth is 5-4 or 2-1, it doesn't matter. If I beat you, I beat you with 2 holes to go. I'm up 2 with 2. Great. 1 hole to play. I beat you by 2 holes. I don't care the margin, because this morning was an ass whooping. But if they can respond now and come away with this, put it this way: 5, 6, 7, 8 holes in the morning, they were already in a major chase mode, trying to down 3. The different pairings. This is a good start for them. This is how you want it. Now the crowd stays into it. Why, Sakes? Because it's almost even better for the U.S. because there's this advantage of, they're in it, so the crowd's staying urgent. You know what I'm saying? Right. Oh, they're up by 3. That one's 1. Well, hell, you saw what happened this morning with Schauffele and Cantlay. They had to stave them off after being up 3. So this is an advantage. I like this. At least it tells me they're not getting dominated by any group. And now that prime Scotty Scheffler, Spawn's won a major. Scheffler's the player of the year. Now it starts to come in and come into play. So this is a much better start, and I expected it to come out of this within 2 point Segs of the lead, and you'll feel pretty good going into Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Who needs it more? NFL edition. We'll run through these real quick.
I'm just going to tell you who, and I'll give you one sentence as to why.
Lamar Jackson and the Ravens or Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Who needs it more? Both are 1 and 2. Both are kind of not playing well. Who needs it more this week as they play each other in Arrowhead?
And this has 0 to do with the history of the team because they've got Super Bowls, so they're on house money. The Chiefs need it more because I don't think the Chiefs are good enough to overcome this year. The Ravens are a better team with a more explosive offense, which I think even down 1-3, I still think that if they lose again, I still think they can make the playoffs. I also think, judging by Cincinnati's team and the way that Pittsburgh's playing defense, meaning not very good this year, the way that we're used to seeing, you know what it tells me, Segs? That the AFC West is better from the bottom to the top than the AFC North. Baltimore, I believe, can come out of this and still go win 10 or 11 games. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs are capable of going on a 6-7 game run. The Chiefs are more desperate. They need it more.
All right. Who needs it more, the Bucks or Eagles? Both 3-0 face off this weekend.
Bucks do. It's important because I think it gives the Bucks a little more panache around the country, like swagger. Baker Mayfield's filled with swagger. But you listen, you're looking at 3-0 Bucks, and you know what you're saying? They play in the NFC South. That's the first. Saints blow. Atlanta got boat raced by Carolina. Carolina looks to be better. Bryce Young's playing better, but they still got a ways to go before they're that. Tampa's 3-0, kicking ass, coming from behind. Still hasn't played their perfect game, but they got talk about grit. Hell, they epitomize their leader in Baker Mayfield. That's who they are. Philadelphia can lose this game and still have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They can. I don't even think it's close, and it comes more for the fact that Tampa's going to win their division, and I think Philly will win theirs as well, although Washington's a good team, and getting their quarterback back will help. But let's face facts, Eggs. One loss to Philly, they're going to yawn at it and say, okay, we can go on, and we're going to be – and they're a more talented team overall, Philly is. I think for Tampa, it sends a message to the rest of the NFC. It also says we can beat the big dog on the block. I mean, I'm talking about the big dog because they're the Super Bowl champions. I think it means far more to Tampa because the conference alone, or should I say the division alone, says, is Tampa – there's 3-0 and people are still wondering if Tampa's real. I believe they are, and I think the quarterback – talk about a guy who doesn't get the respect of being one of the best players in the league at his position in the last couple of years, Baker Mayfield, and he has. If it's close and Mayfield has the ball, I'm telling you what, he'll find a way. But Philadelphia can overcome this. Give me them. Tampa needs it far more just to send the message that it's not just the NFC South is the reason they're 3-0.
I like that one. Okay, who needs it more, Vikings or Steelers? Both 2-1, but Carson Wentz still playing with McCarthy out. Aaron Rodgers playing against an old division rival. And you just talked about how bad the Steelers defense has been. Who needs it more, the Vikings or Steelers? And that game's in Pittsburgh this weekend. I'm
going to say Vikings because I don't remember the Vikings when they come back. They're going to get a rookie in J.J. McCarthy. When he comes back, going back into the starting lineup. I think Carson Wentz needs it as much as anybody. Segs, right? They put up a bunch of points. The Vikings, we think, are a playoff team. They loaded up offensive line this offseason. They're a really good team with a defense that can cause you problems and turn you over. I'm going to say Minnesota needs it more because they're a backup quarterback. You watch Detroit play. You know Chicago's getting better, and there's no way Green Bay's losing to Cleveland again if they play again. I mean, they're not because they're in different conferences, but you get my point. A team like that, they're too good, and you expect them to come out. Detroit now looks like a Super Bowl caliber team the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks. And Pittsburgh, I kind of expect Pittsburgh to be 2-2, Segs. The offense is pretty good. They're not overly explosive just yet. Their defense needs to get better. They're going to hang. I expect Pittsburgh to kind of hang around. Baltimore's reeling, so even a loss still keeps you in good position. Cincinnati's not a real big threat right now, as Minnesota proves that last week. And and the Cleveland Browns play great defense. They come off a win, but their offense doesn't score. If they don't play good defense, they got really no shot. So for me, it's Pittsburgh stays alive. Minnesota looking at Green Bay and Detroit, who are both Super Bowl caliber teams with a Super Bowl caliber offense on one and offensive line and a dominant defense and a better offense than we saw last week in Green Bay. I think it means more to Minnesota to be able to win with a backup quarterback back-to-back weeks. And plus, I think you want to extend this. When McCarthy comes back, even if Wentz goes 4-0, Segs, McCarthy's playing. So you're trying to create some latitude for you and bandwidth for your rookie to have some space to play in, even though he was great in the last quarter of the first win. They still got to get their offense going with McCarthy. I think it means more to Minnesota because the division, in my opinion, has two Super Bowl caliber teams in it and a Chicago team that's coming off a huge win and getting better. Minnesota's got more pressure to win this one. There's more to lose. They got to get it done. All
right, we got two more. Who needs the win here? I think I know which way you'll go. Is it CJ Stroud or is it Cam Ward being the first overall pick, 0-3? But both teams are 0-3. But as that first overall pick, rookie year, you want to get that first win. Who needs it more?
I agree, and I think Cam Ward, and I see qualities that make me really like him. Tough, and he's going to be a good player. This isn't even close. Matter of fact, this is more important than any of them. Than Tampa, than him. First off, you haven't seen a win yet. Second off, you were expected to kick ass in the division. Third off, if the Colts win and you lose, you're 4 down with you talk about Ryder Cup, that you ain't winning the division being 4 down. They're not good enough. Fifth, I mean, I can keep going. Fifth is offensively, they've been piss poor. They've got a rookie play caller that's calling plays like a rookie play caller. They've got a quarterback who hasn't looked anything like he did, regardless of the reason why. Offensive line, he's a little gun shy from getting hit all the time. Whatever the reason, their injuries, whatever you say, their offense is putrid right now, and they can't close out games. If it's not Nico Collins, a running back laying on the ground, they're the we get close team, but we just don't beat you offensively.
Right.
And Segs, imagine being this: you're 0-4 in a division that's only one team is going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. And you got to chase that the whole friggin' year. Yeah. And then they got to go. Then now look at their schedule. As you pointed out the other day, good luck with that. They could literally be 1-8. They got to go play Seattle. They got to listen. This is. We knew Tennessee was going to be was going to be pulling up the rear this year. Rookie quarterback. They're trying to fight. They don't have a lot of. They're not overly skilled. And the game's at home if you're the Texans. This is a no-brainer. Of all the teams you just mentioned, this has to be a win. Because if Tampa loses, they're 3-1 in the playoff hunt and going to win the division. Right. Philadelphia loses, they're going to be fine. Minnesota and Pittsburgh both still in good position to continue to play. We'll go through all of them. If this team loses, you can stick a fork in them, brother. You can be as optimistic and as glass half full if you want. If they go out and get beat 21-10 against Cam Ward at home, fan base will disappear. And the offense, you'll already start to hear offensive coordinator on the hot seat and is CJ Stroud a bust. Even though that's not the case, that's exactly what you'll hear. This over anyone you've named so far, because you may be eliminating yourself a month in. Remember, Segs, I've told you, and you and I have talked about it. Oh, just win in December. It won't matter what they do in December if they go 0-4 in September. So this is monumental for the Houston Texans. They trump everybody of the teams you've named so far.
Yeah, I had a feeling that's which way you'd go. All right, final one. Who needs it more? Who needs the first overall pick more? The Dolphins, the Jets, or the Saints?
Oh, gosh. Okay, I think the Jets are more talented than I think the Jets have enough talent that when the quarterback, whether it's Fields or somebody else, I just don't know if the first quarterback of the draft, if there's anybody yet that's dominant enough to change a franchise just yet.
Right now we don't have.
I don't know that just yet. Thanks. And then I think about the let's see. You said the Jets, New Orleans, and who was the third one?
Dolphins.
Dolphins. Well, I think the Dolphins are on borrowed time. But if you look at team speed and talent, if we're just talking about this year, but you said first pick, so you're talking about the future, Segs.
Yep,
for me,
I'm talking about the future.
The reason why the Dolphins aren't the one, because you're paying a guy $53-54 million. It won't matter. You're not taking a quarterback with the first pick of the draft. You're just not, unless you can trade Tua. You're not doing it. And they've got some perimeter speed. They've got some good players. They're just as finesse as it gets. They're wet paper towel finesse. So Jets, I think Glenn's got some players. I think they've got some pretty explosive talent. I mean, Garrett Will, they've got some players, they do. To me, it's a no-brainer. The Saints franchise, they're not good. And I don't know who the first pick, and they haven't, like we've talked about, they haven't drafted the first pick with a quarterback since Archie Manning. That's in the 60s, Segs. That's a long time. So it may be the time, and maybe Garrett Nussmeier is the guy they think. His pop's coach is in New Orleans now. His dad was a quarterback as well. It's the Saints because rookie head coach, their franchise, they're bad. And we still don't know is Spencer Rattler. And people say, what about Tyler Shook? Well, maybe. And at some point in time, you may see him this year if they don't start winning games. But just on player, just to get talent, period, they're aging a little bit offensively. It's the Saints. And quite frankly, I'm not sure it's close, to be honest with you. If you're talking about saving a franchise, because if you drafted whoever they draft with the first pick has got to play, whether it's a quarterback or even if they believe in Tyler Shook or Rattler moving forward, they're a roster that's not very good. They're living up to what we thought. They're not going to win many games this year going in, and they've played like it. So give me the Saints, because I honestly think Miami, they've invested so much money in the quarterback position. It'd be tough to part with that. And the Jets are more talented than the Saints are overall roster. And, you know, they don't need it because they only got Fields on a 1-year deal. If they don't feel good about it, they may be able to get the second or third pick and get a guy at quarterback who, if there was an Andrew Luck or an Elway in this, you'd say, okay. But the Jets can the third quarterback may be as good as the first. And if they do draft one next year, fine and dandy. Jets and Dolphins roster is far better than the Saints roster. It's got to be the Saints.
Yeah, you could argue the Saints, if they got the first pick with the way their salary cap and everything is in such hell, that they should trade the first pick if there's that guy that a team is.
And they may very well make Segs for 3 other players or 4 other players.
Just like the Bears did a few years ago when they made that big trade with Carolina so they can move up to get Bryce Young. And the Bears got DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, Caleb Williams, and so on. And that helped. And then they took a year, they dumped a bunch of bad salary, they took on dead money just to get rid of it so then they could start building their roster the right way.
And Segs, you know what else too? And the other side, if they did, you're right, you're in position, you get that guy. Maybe we can go get 4 guys and a starter if you're the Saints, right? If somebody covets the first pick. Now, there's 8 quarterbacks who are wondering who's going to be the first pick or the second, right? And like I said, the distance between 1 and 4, between Cade Klubnik and Nussmeier, it may not be, you know, whoever it is, it may not be, oh my gosh, I got to have him. But if you did draft the quarterback and you had the first pick, just for fan sales and enthusiasm, if LSU goes on and wins a national championship, you know what that means. Oh, Nussmeier, let's go grab him, and hopefully we'll get the same kind of production we got from Burrow as a young player, or Jaden Daniels in the league, drafting them that high. But the other side of it is, Segs, even more so. That's why the Saints cover the local Nussmeier. And if Arch Manning were able to go on a heater and change things around and Texas turns around and Arch Manning plays 1 year and is done, right? Let's say he leaves and plays 1 year. You don't think New Orleans fans would love that? So regardless of what they do, and if they were to draft him and say, we're going to trade him, which they wouldn't do because he's a New Orleans guy, but all those little sidebars that go with it. Right now, Arch Manning's not the first pick of the draft. My point is, I don't know any quarterback that's worthy today of the first pick of the draft based on this year's performance. We got to see more. So the Saints sit in a position where they could do a lot with it, and that franchise needs it desperately.
Yeah, that'll be something to watch as the season goes on, which team is trending for that number 1 pick, and is there a quarterback worth taking with the number 1 pick?
Segs, right now, let's say that there was a quarterback that was worth taking number 1 pick, like a Cam Ward that emerged like that, right? They're more than one. They're 5 players away from being 5 players away in New Orleans. So that goes to your point of, if you get the pick and you didn't think and you thought Rattler and Tyler Shook could hold it down, that you still need to see more with a good roster, and you didn't get Arch Manning or Nussmeier, that may not be a bad thing, because you sit there and say, we'll trade because they need 5 or 6 players and they need to be active in free agency. But like you said, salary cap hell, the Carr situation hurt them in salary cap hell too. Hence why another reason why when he was quarterback, it would have cost him like $50 million when he was the quarterback, if they would have moved him or cut him. So they've got some manipulating to do with the salary cap and some good work. But the first pick isn't guaranteed. If it goes to the Saints, it ain't guaranteed to be in the first pick to the Saints, because they need a lot of players. It's exactly right.
If you're the Saints, even if you stay with Rattler or Shook, you're still going to be bad the next year.
Oh, yeah. And if you got a good quarterback, you're still going to be bad. That's why they need players.
And if you do that trade, if you're able to trade it and get players and get rid of some money and do all that stuff, who knows? Maybe Arch Manning is sitting there in 2 years that he's fixed himself, his mechanics and everything. And there he is sitting at the number 1 pick, and you're sitting there again.
Segs, look at this. Let's say Shook and before we go, Rattler go back and forth and both play good enough for people to think there's some intrigue. Because remember, Rattler was supposed to be the first pick 2 or 3 years ago. Think about this. Let's say they both play and somebody else likes Rattler. Let's just say for the hell of it. And you get the first pick. And all of a sudden the Jets, let's just say for the hell, the Jets want Rattler. So you trade him and get a 4th rounder. Well, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And Shook plays well enough for you to say, we got a chance, and then you still have the first pick of the draft. Well, and if Arch Manning, who's probably good, it looks to me like stay in school for another year, probably need it, stays in school, then you still got Shook there, and if he plays well enough, and you still got a chance because you won't be that good even the next year, like next year, that you still may be in position to draft a guy like Arch Manning if all of a sudden the next year he kicks ass and you want to bring him home. So really the Saints, they're not playing well enough to think they're any good this year. They don't have enough good players to be good enough next year, regardless of who the quarterback is. And you still haven't seen enough of the quarterbacks now to guarantee you'd want to draft a quarterback first anyway. So there's a lot that's got to happen. But to me, it's overwhelming as far as roster goes. The Saints need players.
Yeah. We'll see how the season continues. But today, it's about the Ryder Cup. And the only change we've had is Cameron Young and Justin Thomas have gone 2 up on your boy Ludwig and Højgaard. So they are 2 up currently through 5 holes. So we still got a lot of golf left, a lot of time to sit down and watch the rest of this afternoon, see what the U.S. can do, see how close they can get. Tomorrow, you think waking up early, you think the U.S. can go in and be like, we know yesterday morning didn't go well, but we feel like we're sitting pretty and we can come back and try and take this Ryder Cup back?
I'm gonna say the U.S. is down 1 going into the Saturday. So What would that make it? 5? Well, is it possible? Let's see. That's 8 matches. So that would make it. Let's see. They're down 3-1. So what would in order to play 4 matches? If let's say it just flip flops, I take this back. I actually think it could be tied going in. I think it's flip flops. I think we take 3 this afternoon and 1. You go into tomorrow at 4 and 4. And then you head in, and I think they'd like that because maybe you learned a valuable lesson. There'll be different pin placements and the rest of it. And then the crowd continues to get into it heading into a Saturday weekend. I'm going to take the U.S. tying this thing up with a big 3-1 in the afternoon to get it to 4-4. Even if they're within 1 or 2, if it's 5 and 3, I really don't. Yeah. You're not going to get within. If it's 5 and 3 or a half point is taken in there. If they're within 2, that's striking distance. That can be taken care of right off the bat on Saturday. Give me within 2 momentum for today, but confidence going into tomorrow and saying, okay, the crowd's going to get back into it. I think we'll be at 4-4 or close to within a half a point or a point before it's done.
Yeah, you just can't go out and do what you did this morning, or then it's over. Because if you're down 6-2 going
even
tomorrow,
if it's like 4.5, 3.5, what I could care less. I really could. But I think the U.S. if they can if Burns and Cantlay do their thing and upset that good group of that's the McIlroy Shane Lowry group.
Yes.
If you go in there and putt it out and get to you're down a point, with a half point, you win a half point, it's 4.5, 3.5, or 4-4. I like the U.S. chances there. I just can't have them going in 6-2 or 7-1 where they get because confidence will be a kick right in the balls, especially at home. That's not the way. Not that it's over, but that makes for a hell of a weekend to have some tough sledding, especially on Sunday in those singles matches.
Yeah, it'll be something to watch as we continue this great weekend of sports we have sitting in front of us. That'll do it for us today. Thanks to Triple E. Thanks to Laura as always. Thank you.
Great stuff. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the sports weekend, my man. Good stuff.
It's gonna be a fun one, especially tomorrow. Enjoy tomorrow when we got the Ryder Cup and all these good college football games that we just talked about today. All right, guys, we will talk to you on Monday with Coach JB and break down everything we just talked about. Peace.